There, how's it going, YouTube? My name is Matt, and this is about self-censorship. And this is my first vlog, and I am responding to Chase the Musical's idea of that, and I'll be discussing what it means to me. So, he comes to the conclusion that we should not self-censor ourselves, and yet you don't want to hurt other people's feelings. Even though we should be real all the time, we don't want to cross that line, that boundary, and hurt other people as well. He feels that YouTube is, well, it's the perfect medium, which gives people the opportunity to be real and get things off their chest in the comfort of their own home, if you think about it. And also, he also believes that if something is upsetting you, you should express yourself. So, something that is good that would come out of not self-censoring ourselves would be that everyone would just let their flaws out, let them be known, and get them worked out. They can become overcome, or simply become at ease with their flaw, because they're no longer hiding it and aren't ashamed of it anymore. And because that they realize that millions of other people have that same flaw, and they wouldn't be frustrated keeping their feelings locked up. Flaws get fixed, frustrations get put at ease. The fact is that the people are listening to you, and that's what really counts. He also gets right down to the point and asks the viewer, what is it and why do we do it? Well, self-censorship is when you are in a certain situation, whatever it may be, and you hold back by not saying something that is on your mind. It may be that you are refraining from being real because you are fearful of hurting someone else's feelings, or maybe because you're afraid of the ramifications that may soon follow with what you have said to that person. So the fact of the matter is that you do not let people really know what you're thinking. And I agree with what Chase says and how frustrating that would be. I mean, we all have our flaws, and that by sharing them with others, then maybe we can put them out there, such as Chase said, and find an answer to solving them. And it would be really frustrating. It might be frustrating for you. I know it would be very frustrating for me. I've been there. It's happened to me. So, when is it right to not self-censor ourselves? Well, a good example that comes to mind is Disneyland opened up the Pirates of the Caribbean ride originally in 1967. And the ride depicts a scene of what it may have looked like during those times, where the pirates are chasing the women in figure eights. For 30 years, the ride was completely original and was not seen as being derogatory. It was not until a woman decided to avoid self-censoring herself and decided to voice her opinion on the issue. Her view of that caused for the ride to just utterly change. They said, Disneyland's like, hey, you know what, we'll change it for you. And so, now it's just a bunch of women in the ride, that are chasing these pirates, these men, with wooden rolling pins, or they're carrying platters of food. My point is that when you are being real about a problem, you get something off your chest, sometimes it can backfire and make other people upset. In a way, now the pirates are being abused by the women, so isn't there a way that maybe it can be viewed both ways? I feel it's not socially acceptable in both terms. So, this act allowed for the lady to feel better about herself and successfully got something off of her chest. It showed that other women could follow and consider not self-censoring themselves as well. But you gotta have the pride in yourself and the willingness to be honest with people. She did. So when would it be a bad thing to not hold back? When would it be bad to not self-censor yourself? Well, sometimes speaking out and not holding back could have very, very negative repercussions. It could hurt someone's feelings. But if you're striving to find something that bothers you and you must make a point by sharing it on YouTube, then to me, well, it sounds like you're attempting to cause a problem and you're just trying to get attention. Yeah, okay, I have to admit, it feels pretty cool, like, woohoo, to post videos on YouTube and all, but if you're just trying to recruit more subscribers, as they say, like it's a popularity contest or something, then I feel you're abusing it and its use. Why is it wrong to not self-censor yourself at times. For example, you might not want to shout out a racial slur like saying beep 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 in a bad neighborhood, for instance. Okay, how about this? Let's think of a scenario that would be an example of when to self-censor yourself. Okay, so you're visiting your grandma, and you've been invited to join her for a nicely, freshly baked slice of homemade apple strudel. Now, you appreciate the valuable time that you were spending with her, and you seem to be alright for the moment, but it's not until you take that first bite of the apple strudel when you realize that it's disgusting and rotten gross. Well, you want to spit it out, curse, and tell your grandma how wrong it truly tastes. Well, guess what, guys? Not the case where you gotta self-censor your opinion on that matter. You know, it would be wise on your part to just not bluntly explain to her the problem. Instead, you may want to avoid the situation by saying, "Why, thank you, Grandma, very much for the wonderful food." Alright, so good things about why you should not self-censor yourself. Well, one, flaws are shared and overcome. Frustrations are let out. And yes, my example of, yo ho, a pirate's life for me. Alright, the bad. Plain and simple, you might hurt someone's feelings. You can't always express yourself because, hell, you could get shot on the streets, or even worse, Grandma could write your name off the will. Look, things like this may happen if you're being real, at the wrong time. So, there seems to be more times when you should use restraint. However, the times when you shouldn't censor yourself may be fewer, but are possibly more important. It's also much easier to censor yourself. It's a lot easier to say nothing than it is to speak about anything. So it's much easier to avoid getting written out of the will or getting shot, and a lot harder to stand up for yourself. In some case, you just can't be blunt about something. You gotta use good sense when trying to tell someone something. I recently spoke to my grandmother actually about this, and she's been on this planet a lot longer than I have. And trust me, she told me something very interesting. She said that she attempts to help others with her words in order to help someone else achieve a solution. Well, there are many different methods to helping someone else reach someone and their issues. For example, you can clarify that maybe if the person was to try it this way, it might work better that way, instead of just bluntly saying something. Look, there's absolutely no need to degrade someone, okay? There's no reason to do that. If you're just trying to be truthful, that's okay. Just think before you speak. Sometimes the smallest action on your part can be a very huge disadvantage to you. Well, the reason why he declares to share his thoughts on certain touchy subjects is because he's protected by the surroundings of his home. So sometimes you just got to be honest and just get things out of your mind. So he's afraid of expressing his views out there. He's being real. There are times or situations where you have to be real. Yet he wants to purposely put it out there on YouTube. It's crucial to use good reasoning before expressing yourself on any matter. In final thought, if you are unable to speak your mind and express your feelings with others, and are always fearful of your actions, your existence diminishes. Living a life in the shadows of self-doubt and isolation will drain all meaning and purpose from your life. It can be difficult to be honest with others, but it is far worse to be dishonest to yourself.